Hello, this is Andrew of Great Lakes Numismatics. This is part 2 of my series on Lincoln cents. Last video I did wheat cents, and this video I'd like to talk about memorial cents. If you haven't seen the first video, I will put a link above for you to check it out, and then you can come back to this video, or you can go straight into this video and we'll get started talking about the memorial cent. 1959 marks the 150th anniversary of the birth of Abraham Lincoln. And to mark this anniversary, it was decided to change the reverse on the Lincoln cent from the wheatbacks at the time to the memorial, the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, which was very similar to what was already on the $5 bill. Now, design was done by Frank Gasparo, and his initials appear on the reverse of the coin just to the right of the memorial. And at this time, the Lincoln cent was continued to be made the same composition that had been introduced for a long time, the copper alloy. And as time progressed, copper became more expensive, and it became more expensive to produce cents. So, come 1974, there was an attempt to reduce the cost of producing Lincoln cents, and some 1.5 million were minted in aluminum. This aluminum cent, most of them were destroyed. There is one in the Smithsonian in their numismatic collection, and I've seen reports of some being held in private hands, but this is considered illegal, much like the 1933 double eagle, which for a long time was illegal to be owned. So now, the 1974, the only one that isn't known to be for sure in existence is the one in the Smithsonian. For whatever reason, they decided not to go with the aluminum, and there were some other experimental compositions at the time as well, and that is led to the composition that we use now, which is the copper-plated zinc. And there's been some issues with these. When it was first introduced, they had problems with bubbling underneath the copper of the zinc, and if anybody does any metal detecting or even just finding pennies on the ground, you'll notice that any pennies, I should say cents, they're technically not pennies, but any cents that you find on the ground, if they're made after 1982, lots of times if they've been there for any period of time, they're corroded terribly, and sometimes big chunks of the coin has been eaten away. And I did a little metal detecting for a little while, and I always knew when I found a zinc penny because it was half gone. So, but which, even though we're making billions of these coins right now, it could reduce how many of the higher quality coins can actually be found in the higher grades. Okay, the Lincoln Memorials, the proof coins were continued to be made in Philadelphia initially, as all proof coins were at that time. From 1959 to 1964, any proof Lincoln cents will be minted in Philadelphia. Then from 65 through 67 is when the special mint sets were introduced and no proof coins were produced. Then from 1968 on, we see the Lincoln cent made in proof at San Francisco, like all proof coins currently are. Uh, the memorial reverse continued up through 2008, and we'll discuss the changes to the memorial reverse in an upcoming video. As far as key dates, semi-keys, things to look for when you're collecting Lincoln cents, the memorial cent, the Lincoln memorial cent is probably one of the easiest sets to actually put together, especially if you're not into die varieties and such. There really isn't a key date as such. Many of the memorial cents in the later years were made in the billions, so they're plentiful. Where you may find a challenge is as we're progressing in time here, a lot of the earlier dates may be a little tougher to find in higher grades. Also, the years that mint sets weren't produced, you may find that a little more difficult to find the higher grade coins as well. And some collectors are really into the super high graded MS66 plus coins. Some of those may get a little difficult and a little pricey to find, but if you're looking to fill an album, a memorial cent album is a fairly easy one to do, and the vast majority of everything, if not everything, can be found in circulation. Now, as far as what to look for in a few that may be a little bit tougher to come by, 1960, the mint changed the size of the date, and there's a small date and a large date variety, which I will show you pictures of here. And the 1960 small date is a little bit tougher to come by in circulation. It's not impossible, and it's by no means a rare coin. Now, when you get to 1970, they changed the size of the date again, and a 1970 S small date is rather difficult to find, and still possible to find in circulation, but chances are this may be a coin that you'll have to visit your local coin dealer, or if you prefer eBay or another auction site, may be the way to go to fill that. Now, still talking about changes in the sizes of the date. 1982 was another year that there was a change in the size of the date, where there was large date and small date varieties, and this is at both the Philadelphia and the Denver mints. And what makes this year rather interesting, it's also the year that they transitioned in the composition of the coin. This was done partway through the year, so there's some 7 different varieties that were released into circulation in the large date, small date, Philadelphia mint, Denver mint, and the copper, as opposed to the copper-coated zinc. Now, in Denver, the small date variety was only minted in the zinc. So there are some transitional pieces that were made on copper planchets. These are extremely rare, but and these have been found in circulation. And the only way to really know if you have a copper as opposed to the zinc coated copper is by weight. The copper composition will weigh in the 3.11 grams area, give or take a little bit, and the copper plated zinc weighs 2.5 grams. And so to really be able to identify these, you'll need a scale, or at least access to a scale, in order to determine what you have there. Again, a lot of people mistake the 82 large dates and small dates. They're pretty evident when you take a look at them, and I will include pictures here as well. The 82 large date tends to look bolder than the small date variety. So there are many other varieties within this series. Both errors. There's some other large date and small dates that don't get the notice that the ones I've already mentioned do, but they don't really demand a premium or get really any attention from collectors whatsoever. So I will do another video on different varieties, the double dyes, and the things like that. There's also wide AM and close AM, which I'll get in more detail in the video where I cover varieties. As far as grading goes with Lincoln cents, the memorial cents, you pretty much have to follow what is out there for the wheat cents. You're going to pay more attention to the obverse. And as far as the low grade Lincoln cents go, the coins are available in such large quantities that anything really less than an uncirculated coin isn't really something a lot of collectors save. There are some varieties that are still worth some money that when they're in lesser grades, but those are the ones that are extremely rare. Like I mentioned, the 82D small date copper transitional piece. Of course, if you find one like that, it's going to be worth saving. There's a few other varieties like the 69S double die, a few other double dies that are worth keeping if you find them in lesser grades. So that's a pretty quick rundown of the Lincoln Memorial Cent, and I hope you found some of this information interesting. Again, if you haven't seen the first video, please check that out. If you like what you're seeing in my videos, love for you to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you will be one of the first people to know when I am releasing a new video. And we will see you in the next video. Thank you.